I'm doing something entirely different today. I'm cooking. Today I'm going to show you how to make 100 grand spiderweb munch, a recipe that I've been making for years, although I'm going to use a couple of minor variations on it this time. First of all, the star ingredient is Nestle $100,000 bars. I actually have an off-brand of the candy bar this year. This is a different brand, and it says 100 grand bar. You could use a different kind of candy if you wish. The main thing that you get from having the 100 grand bars is the caramel that's in the middle. So if you can't get 100 grand bars or $100,000 bars, you could use Crunch bars, just a chocolate bar that has rice cereal in it, and chop up some caramel with it as well, because we're going to chop up these candy bars anyway. So you could just chop up some caramel and put it in. The caramel really does add something to the dish, so I would not go without any caramel at all. Okay, so the first thing we do is we need 4 1.5 ounce $100,000 bars. This is a package of fun size bars, and I don't even know how big each bar is, but it does say that the entire package is 4.5 ounces. So I know that I need all of one package plus a little less than half of a second package. Cooking is not an exact science, and especially not this dish. So if I have a little extra, it's no big deal. This is going to be the crust of the cookie. So if I have some extra, I'm just gonna have a slightly larger crust. So the first thing I need to do is open all of the candy bars. And once all of the candy bars are open, then I need to chop them. You could probably use a food processor to do this. I have never used a food processor for this. If you do use a food processor though, you would want it on a fairly large setting, like a chopped setting. We don't want fine pieces. We want pieces that are about that size there. So as you see, I'm doing 3 bars at a time, and I cut in 2 different directions. And I am using a total of 9 bars. And for those of you who live in countries where you use sane measurement systems and not these crazy ounces that we in the United States use, however many grams that is, same thing for you. If someone in the chat wants to do the math, how much is 6 ounces in grams? And I have my candy chopped. The next step is to make my filling. The filling is the richest part of this dessert. Now the filling is quite simple. It's just a package of chocolate chips. Now the recipe calls for milk chocolate, and in the past I have always used milk chocolate. But in my house we actually like dark chocolate better. So this year I'm doing something a little bit different, and I'm using dark chocolate. In addition to my chips, I need 3/4 cup of peanut butter. This cup isn't completely full, but this is a 1 cup rather than a 3/4 cup. I have found that when measuring peanut butter, if you measure it exact, so much of the peanut butter sticks to the edges of the cup that you end up wasting a lot of peanut butter. So I use a slightly larger cup and then just kind of eyeball it so that it's not touching all of the edges of the cup. And then I don't have so much waste. Then I need to melt this in the microwave. When melting chocolate chips in the microwave, the secret is to not cook it too long before you check on it. If you know that it's going to take about 2 minutes to melt the chips, if you put it on for a full 2 minutes and wait the full 2 minutes, you're probably going to burn the chocolate. It's better to take it out every once in a while and stir it. Now I have always done this recipe stirring it every 30 seconds. This particular recipe, glancing at this time, says to do it every 15. So we'll give that a little bit of time to melt, and then we'll stir it again. Another thing that I have figured out that I do slightly differently is that the recipe calls for crisp rice cereal. When I get to the next step where I stir the cereal in with the chocolate mixture, you have to keep stirring it and stirring it until you completely coat the cereal if you want it to look exactly right. And as you see, My chocolate and peanut butter is starting to melt. It's getting rather gooey. It needs about another minute. So what I started doing is using chocolate rice cereal, Cocoa Krispies instead of Rice Krispies, or I'm using a store brand cereal. But by using the chocolate cereal, that way if you don't get the cereal completely coated, you still get the brown color of the cereal throughout. Obviously this recipe is not for someone who has a peanut allergy, as there's quite a bit of peanut butter in here. The recipe says to use creamy peanut butter. Because the center is smooth, it probably is better to use creamy peanut butter. But if you prefer a crunchy texture, there's really no reason why you couldn't use crunchy peanut butter. About another 15 seconds and we'll have this completely melted. And there you see we have it melted now. And next we add 1/3 cup of powdered sugar. Okay, and now it's all nice and smooth. Next, we take those chopped candy bars and we add to it 3 cups of the cereal. Okay, there we go, 3 cups of cereal. Now we want 1 cup of the mixture, and this is going to be so that the cereal and the candy bar sticks together so we can form a crust. I actually maybe have my pieces just a tad too big. They should be just a bit smaller, but it's okay. It'll work anyway. 1 cup is approximately half of your mixture. So rather than use another cup and get one more thing dirty, I'm just going to eyeball it to get about just a little less. You want a little less than half. And if I stir this together and discover that it's not going to hold together, then I can always add a little bit more. You want to stir this to coat the cereal and the candy bars. Keep thinking maybe I want just a tad more, but every time I think that, I find another little pocket of the wetter ingredient that I can use to stir to. I think I want just a little bit more. Now, the recipe that I'm following says to put this onto a cookie sheet. I prefer to use a dinner plate. I use the dinner plate because it has some slight sides to it, and you do want some slight sides to this. You could even use a pie pan. Here's my dinner plate, and I want a little bit of cooking spray on this to keep it from sticking. Okay, I pour the crust onto the plate. Now I want to form it into a crust. Best tool is a small spatula. Once you have it nice and flat and right to the edges, you want to build up an edge to it so that this is kind of a large cup that can hold the filling. One of the ways to make kind of that edge is to push down about 1 inch from the edges. Okay, and now I pour my filling into my crust. This is Robin's favorite treat for Halloween. If I want to lure Robin home for the weekend, all I have to do is make this. Now this is considered a Halloween treat, and I do make it for Halloween, but you could easily adapt this recipe for other holidays as well, especially Valentine's Day. If you are artistic enough to make it into a heart shape, or if you have a heart-shaped pan, you could just as easily press this into a heart-shaped pan, make this a heart shape, and then decorate it with red icing instead of making it into a spider web. Now I have my filling inside, and I just spread that around. You don't want to go all the way to the edges, just to the edge of the little cup that you've made. And that the indentation for this does not need to be that big, because it, you know, as you can see, there's a lot more crust than there is filling. And there you have it. Now I'm ready to decorate. For the decoration, the recipe I'm using says to use gel. The original recipe that I used said to use glaze. I've always used glaze. I don't have any gel. I make my own glaze. I just have a small amount of powdered sugar in this cup. There's probably maybe 1/4 cup. You do not need much water to turn it into glaze. Just a few drops. And then I stir it. I want it thin enough that I can work with it, but not so thin that it's going to start looking clear rather than white. I want the white color. And that is the advantage of using the gel. It does have a nice white color to it. Now, if you do get your glaze too thin, just add some more powdered sugar. And I did. I got my glaze too thin. I'm going to get some more powdered sugar. You might even want to use an eyedropper for adding the water, because you really don't need much. Okay, I have my glaze ready. Now I'm ready to make my spider web. I have some cake decorating equipment here, and I actually have never used this before. I've never had it before. So this is a new experience for me as well. And then just take the glaze, and we want to make some circles on our spider web. Now this is where I'm not the best. Someone with some more decorating skills would be better at this portion of it. And once you've finished your circles, you can make a nice little spot in the center. Then take a knife and that makes it look more like a spider web. If you have some plastic spiders, put a plastic spider or two on top, and there you have it. It's finished, all ready to serve treats to your Halloween guests. Live your life.